So I'm going to turn over today. Before I do, I want to share a prayer, okay? Would you pray with me? I want to pray with this guy. Father, this is your church. Jesus, Collision belongs to you. And we're just so excited about what you are doing here in our little familia. God, you are changing lives. We're excited about 2 people now that are going to be going to work now, that got jobs. God, you are just using people within the church to bless those others in the church. God, it is just so obvious your hand is just all over the place, and I'm just kind of like mesmerized by it all. Nothing surprises me, but at the same time, it's kind of like we just see evidence of your spirit day after day after day. God, don't ever forget about us, and may we never forget about you. And so this morning, God, we are going to turn it over now to acknowledge the children in India. Everything's relevant, and even the families in this church that are hurting have nothing like what it is in India, with young children living on the streets. So God, open our eyes and our hearts up so that we can see a bigger vision, a global vision of another country that needs our help. So God, open up our hearts and bless Dave as he presents all this to us. And we pray all this in your name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Great.
All right. Hey, about 2.5 years ago, we started Collision. And at that time, I had gone to India maybe 6 or 7 times per year, right before we started Collision. We started Collision with a small group of people. And my eyes were just opened up by the amount of people, the people in that group that we started with, Cheryl and Shirley and Yvonne, and to the local need that we needed to pursue. And Collision was founded on that, on meeting the needs of the local people of this immediate community. And that's how we founded Collision. But we had in our DNA global because of me. I brought in that global, and it was burning inside me. But I was sitting back just listening, God, now's not the time. Now's not the time. Now is the time to meet the needs of the community. And that was hard for me. But because of you ladies, I totally adopted that, and Collision was born because of that. And as of today, we meet each other's needs here. We do the food table. That's because of Collision, meeting each other's needs. Some of you don't even have a cent, and yet you still bring India banks. It's unbelievable. You have nothing, and you're still bringing India banks in to support a global cause that you've never even experienced. Well, today is the day we're going to introduce India to you. What we've been supporting globally. Now is the time for us to take what we've established here and take it globally. Now is the time. We have decided to sponsor 5 kids from Crash. 5 kids have said, I want to go. I want to be an apostle. I want to be one of Jesus' foot soldiers. And when they come back, they're going to be changed forever. And when they come back, Jim and I aren't going to be standing up here anymore. Those 5 kids are going to be standing up here or standing somewhere else. Who knows what God has planned for them? All they did was raise their hand and said, who wants to go? And they raised their hand. That's it. That's the first step of following God right there. Raise your hand. So today, I want to introduce you to several people who were sitting out there where you are years ago, and all they did was raise their hand. That's it. Now, I could talk forever on India, and you guys have heard me talk so many times, like, oh gosh, don't talk some more, Dave. Okay, so what I've done is I'm taking myself out of this today. I've invited several friends to come and just give their testimony on India. And to start this with, I want to show you a video to kind of get us in the mood. So do you have that, friends? Thanks.
The question that is never far away.
thank you, Claudia, made that video for us. I want you all to know that, man, I'm shooken up more than I thought I'd be just looking at that. I haven't been in. All of that footage is actual footage from my trips. None of that's from National Geographic. None of that's from internet. That's all from my camera. All of that footage. I've seen that. I've witnessed that. Everybody that you're going to hear to has seen that, witnessed that. It's a time for us to step back in Bible times and walk like Jesus walked. How often do we get to do that here? We don't. We don't. We go there, we strip ourselves of everything. We don't know where our next meal's coming from. We don't know where our shelter's going to be the next evening. We just go and serve God and don't have another worry in the world. We get to serve God for 2 weeks, and then we come back and do amazing things. It's amazing. Not only are we doing amazing things there, we're coming back. We're better husbands. We're better wives. We're leading mission. We're leading the mission, Long Beach mission. Renee, many of us have been to the mission with Renee. He came back and said, I'm going to do something. Look what that man's doing. And I don't know what he was like before India, but I see what he's like after. And that's all I need to see. So first thing you're thinking, God, Dad, I really want to go. I really want to go. But, this is what we've all been through. But, my children, who's going to take care of my children? But, how am I going to get off of work? But, who's going to support me? But, I don't have a passport. And last of all, but Dave, I have nothing to offer. If you have nothing to offer, you're the perfect mission. If you think you have something to offer, please don't sign up for this. I want to read you a passage from the Bible and then introduce some friends to talk to you. This is 1 Corinthians 1:26. Mark introduced this to us last week in his message about your call. And I want to reiterate this. 1 Corinthians 1:26. And here, listen to this. Brothers, think of what you were when you were called. Not many of you were wise by human standards. Not many were influential, and not many were of noble birth. That's us. That's us. If you're called, God's not saying He wants somebody that's of noble birth. He doesn't want somebody wise. God wants a fisherman. Who are the apostles? Who are the disciples? God wants a tax collector, the worst of the worst. That's who God's calling. And I'm not saying that people I'm about to introduce are that. But anyways, you know what? You've heard enough from me. Let's start bringing some people. And I just want them to share about their experience in India, maybe some concerns they had and what they've gone. First, I want to bring up Jenny Uribe. And she's just like, oh, not first, not first. Come on up, Jenny. Give her a hand. To the mission, have been with Renee. Renee's the one who plays the guitar and leads the mission. Well, this is Renee's better half, Jenny. And I'm just going to let her share whatever's on her heart about India.
I was always touched, like all you guys. Our church had gone, I believe, 2 or 3 other times, and I always got emotional when I saw the videos, but I never thought it was something that I would do or that God would call me to do. And we had an India dessert at the Sloan House. And I really wanted Renee to go. Like, I didn't want me to go, but I wanted Renee to go. And I would push him, and I got the application for him. And I was like, you can do it, you'd be awesome there. And while we were there, we were talking, and I remember Suresh, who runs a Harvest India, started talking about the Untouchables. I'm going to get emotional here. I'm a crier, I'm sorry. And he just talked about how there's a group of people in India that were called Untouchables. And I just remember, I just envisioned my boys. And I couldn't imagine someone looking at my sons and saying, you're an untouchable. You're not worthy to drink in my water fountain. You're not worthy to walk in my town and go to my school. And I was like, how could someone say that to someone's children? And I was like, Renee, you have to go. And Suresh started praying, and we were there, and I started praying, and in my heart, I was like, okay, God, just work on Renee's heart. Work on Renee's heart. And I hear, you're going. And I was like, Renee's going, Renee's going. I was like stubborn, and I just didn't think I could do it. And I just remember hearing it again, and I'd never heard God's voice like that before. And it was like, you're going. And I got so shook up. I remember that I spilled my water all over the couch. I was so shook up. We got back to the car. I was crying, and I was like, I'm like, Renee's not going to let me go. We've got 2 kids. It's not going to work. And I was like, Renee told Renee what I heard, and Renee's like, that would be so awesome. And I still kept doubting myself. I was just like, I didn't think I had a story. I was like, who wants to hear me talk? I just cry every time I talk. And I struggled. I really, really struggled with it. At the time we homeschooled our boys, and same thing, who's gonna watch my kids? I don't even send my boys to school. They're with me all the time. And I confided in a friend, and I just prayed and prayed and prayed about it. And I actually was trying to pray for God to change his mind. Like, I struggled a lot. About a week or two before even the trip started, we went. I struggled again. I didn't think my story was worthy, and God was just like, go. Just go. I remember, and I was like, okay. And it changed my life. It definitely, like with Renee and I, it opened my eyes to like a world I'd never seen. It opened my eyes to a beautiful, beautiful country with beautiful children. And it just like, when you see the pictures, like it's amazing seeing all these people that had never heard of Jesus before, and they're like cheering him on and stuff. And it was just so, it was just so amazing. And just going through the villages and teaching them songs. Like I'm even now teaching like those over that when I went, like the knock, 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 I hear Jesus knocking. And it just, to hear those kids singing that stuff is just so beautiful. But the thing that I think one thing that I hope that we brought was that how much they were loved. That we did love them, and that we would hug them, and we would pray for them, and that there was someone out there that loved them, and that loved them so much, let their son die for them. And I think that was just, and it gave me a boldness to share my story, and just to love on everyone. And like I said, we brought it back to the rescue mission and everything else. And so I just want to encourage you, I was the biggest doubter on everything, and I still am. And it just changed my life. And so there's like a little bit of nudge about it, talk to Dave or something like that, because I think it's amazing. And I just would encourage everyone that gets that little nudge, just to keep going with it, and it'll change your life. So.
Thank you. Jenny was a wreck the first 2 days in India. She was a wreck. She was crying every day, missing her boys, missing her boys. God turned that around. And we did a vacation Bible school, and Jenny and I were in charge of all the kids out in the what was it, sports or activity sports. Those kids adopted. She had 100 adopted children that day. That changed it around, because what it did is God said, that love you have for your own children, now I need you to give that same love to these kids who have no love. And I've never seen anything like that in my life. It was unbelievable. So God used her despair and turned it around and says, now it's going to be your strength. It was awesome. You had to be there, but it was incredible. Yeah, way to go. Okay, all right. The next person I want to invite up here. Okay, here's what happened. This guy, I know this guy, and I figured he's seen more than I have in life. You know, he's seen a lot of things, and I figured he's going to get to India and he's going to hit the ground running. This guy's going to be on fire because he's seen it all. We got to India, and this guy sat in the bus for the first 3 days like a stone, just like this. He was in shock of what he saw. He was in shock. And I thought, this isn't the same guy I know. God turned that around. What God did is he brought this guy down, made him sit for 2 or 3 days, then turned it around, and the second half of the trip, he was our leader. He was saying, come on. He wanted to do every single mission, every kind of ministry that we were doing. He was in the front row. He was saying, come on, Dave, what's holding back? And he turned it around. Because what it is, God said, you haven't seen everything. Stop and wait and see what I need to show you, and then come. And that man is Carlos Salas. Carlos, could you come up? Raise my hand. Bringing his wife Michelle, Michelle, you just went, right?
Yes.
Michelle just went on a trip to India with their church about 1.5 years ago? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So Carlos, tell us what you have to say.
I made it. I know what you guys are thinking. This guy's from India anyway. That's what everybody thought over there. That's why I showed up on India time too. It was an experience from the very beginning. We used to have the leader of the ministry, Harvest India, come to our church and share. And I would always tear up and think, that was a great thing for them, to be doing. And these guys would show up with these pajamas. And I thought, wow, that's great. That's a great ministry they're doing. Good for them. And then it just, an entire year went by, and I had this, in my heart when Suresh would come to the church and share, and it would always inspire me, but I wouldn't take a step. And then basically they said, "You're coming with us." And it was a God thing, really. And I just said yes. And it was the best thing. It's an experience that definitely marks your life. To say that it's a culture shock or anything like that, it's an understatement. But it really, be prepared if you're feeling this that I was feeling back then. Be prepared for God to talk to you, because He will. He's going to show up in your life, and it's going to be a defining moment for you. I can tell you from my experience, when we got there, everything's very different. The brothers and sisters over there are wonderful people. You experience God's love right there from when they greet you at the airport. And it was an experience for me because I had never seen so much suffering, really. I've seen poverty. I come from Costa Rica originally, and I had seen poverty and need, but I had never seen anything like I saw in India. And just the look on people's lives, and the people's eyes, and it just stays with you. So I'm going to get a little deeper. This is hard to go back to. The first 3 days, I remember crying every night. I couldn't sleep. I was on what they call jet lag. Yeah. So anyway, I couldn't sleep. So it was like God talking to me. The verses that I heard my entire life from the Bible took an entire different perspective over there. Like, who are the least? Because when Jesus says that the last will be first, it takes an entire different perspective over there. Like, who are going to be the first then? And I remember listening to God's voice directly to me. Like, are you with me? He said that, and I just broke. I basically cried for 3 nights over there. When he said, are you with me? And I have to say yes, because I've been saying yes. So that was the first 3 nights. Then I remember Dave, he was like a general in the He just kept saying, you have to get with it. You have to get with it. This is teamwork, and it's ministry time. And because you had 3 trips experience, so he knew how to turn it off and turn it on, And I was just like new comfort right there. And then it was an experience for me to see him how he operated. And then I would see where he would just crack when we were just ministering to the people with AIDS, and he would just crack a little bit and then turn it back on. Seriously, this is something that really marks your life, and it defines your commitment of service to God that you're going to have for the rest of your life, really. And yeah, my brother here was an experience. You develop this bond with the people that you go, your teammates, become like family over there. So it's wonderful to experience God's love in that way as well. Then the other thing, and it's probably the last thing I want to say, is if you have opened the doors of your heart to Jesus and He lives within you, the Spirit of God is in you. And nowhere I have experienced that more vividly than in India. You're in a spiritual adrenaline the whole trip. And the Spirit of God is just bursting out of you. You know, from the whole preparation to when you arrive and you're praying every night, and you're worshiping in the morning, devotional time, you need to be ready. The Spirit of God is just bursting. They told me to give a testimony because we were in this team and everybody has to do their part. And I had been reading, prior to my trip, studying Bible and theology, and I wasn't part of the speaking team. I just got there because I played the guitar. I was drafted because of that. So when they first gave me the chance to give that testimony, I was just looking at all those people there. We were in a night crusade in like a neighborhood, and the Spirit of God was just bursting out of me. And I'm like, I need to tell these people about Jesus and about the Bible and why we're here. And they handed me the mic for my testimony, and I started with my testimony, and I just felt like everything was bursting inside my heart. I just started letting it out. And then all of a sudden, the guys behind me, all my team mates are cheering up, and so I just kept going. Then I had to come back to my testimony. But that was really an experience because that's when you know it's not you talking.
Yeah.
So that's really something. So, an encouragement.
Thank you,
If God is
Father.
talking to you, say yes.
Then Michelle, did you want to say anything?
I don't know, I guess what I have to say was my whole reason for going was I felt like I'm so comfortable here that I am not, on mission every day as I should be, and that I needed to step outside of this comfort and see what God had for me out there and see what other people go through. Because we're in this bubble, we live in the U.S.
Yeah.
And I heard a pastor say one time that in this country there was a time when there was people in such great need and people that really worked hard. And at that time we really saw our need for God because our reward was going to heaven. But now that we've kind of created our own little heaven here, we don't see that. And when you go to India, you see it. And you see how other people are looked down on. And we've come a long way here, and we still have a long way to go with that. But over there, it's so apparent, And it's just so extreme and everywhere, What is it, 80% of the people live in villages. So if you can imagine that, 80% of the people live in these little huts with no plumbing and no electricity. We can't even imagine. So you can't see that in pictures, and you can't experience it from somebody talking to you. You have to go there. You have to go there and see it. And Harvest India is on the ball, and they want to show you everything they're doing with every penny. And it's amazing how they're working there.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks. Both of them playing worship bands for their churches. Both of them playing worship bands. I mean, you can't come back from India and do nothing, right? It's amazing. Yeah. All right. The next lady I want to bring up She smiles all the time. And when she's not smiling, she's crying. And I got to see both in India. I got to see smiles all the time, and I got to see a lot of tears. And God used her in an amazing way. I think she was probably the one on our trip who thought was the greatest thinker of what is God going to use me for? What do I have to offer? And God used her tremendously. I remember she gave a testimony about her life and what she went through in her life and her family life. And it related to one of the ladies that was there in India who thought she was alone in India, because Indians think that we have perfect lives. They think there is no abuse, there is no drugs. Indians think and her testimony was unbelievable. It had everybody crying. And if her whole trip was just to minister to that one woman in India, God bless her. I don't know. But anyways, I want to bring up Christy Calderon. She's already crying. Sometimes she smiles and cries at the same time. I'm going to stay up here with you.
Oh my gosh. So I have kids, and at the time my youngest was 2. I can't even think. I just remember the youngest one was 2. And I too was thinking, how am I gonna go? I have kids, I have a husband. Who's gonna take care of them? In the beginning, my husband didn't want me to go. I didn't want to go. I'm not going. And just like Carla said, good for you guys for wanting to go. Good for you. And I'm like, I'm never going. And it was just weird that, after talking about it, I'm like, I want to go. And I was like, no, because who's going to take care of the kids? I'm like, you are. Your mom is. He eventually said yes because he says yes to me. My next problem was raising the money because we didn't have any money, so I think that's why he was struggling to let me go, because we had no money. We did yard sales. I sent out letters, and everyone's like, don't worry, the money is the least problem. I was like, that's good for you guys, but we have none. And I don't know rich people. I sent out my letters, and I think it was probably a week before we were going. I was like, I still don't have the money. I don't know. And I'm like, Joe, I need to go. I don't know what we could do. And so, because we were getting papers, and I would see lists of names on everybody's paper of how much they've gotten, and mine was so small. And a week before, my money was there. Someone had turned in money for me to go. They had a yard sale, and they had extra money, so they were able to give it to me. I was so happy, I think. And then I was so excited. I was excited to get new outfits and go shopping because I heard they make your clothes there and stuff. And then when I went, I had heard from the people before that you get to call your family, you get to call them and talk to them. And I hadn't called them. And I cry a lot, and then when I cry too much, I hyperventilate. And late at night, I was crying, and I couldn't sleep. And I started hyperventilating. And then my roommate, one of the girls came and was like, what's wrong? And I was like, I miss my kids so much. I didn't know what to do. And then she came and none of the other girls came in, and they just started praying over me, praying and praying. And I'm close to God, but I wasn't, like Dave said, what was I going to do there? I didn't, I prayed, but I'm going to be honest, I didn't pray every day. What's God going to do? Is he going to help me? And
after she prayed for me, I just felt this release off of me, you know, and I knew that they were okay, and I knew that I was going to be okay, and I spent time. I was able to go to sleep that night, and Lisa, she told Shresh's wife, can she please use your phone? She needs to call her family. And I called and talked to my kids, and they were at life group, and they're like, hi, Mom. What's up? I'm playing. And they didn't really care to talk to me, and I was really trying hard. And I was like, they're doing good. Why are you calling? Because it's like a 12 or 16-hour difference, so I knew that they were fine, and so I was okay, and it just seemed like that was the first night, and we were there for 2 weeks, and I thought it was going to go by so slow, but it just seemed to go so fast, and I don't like talking, and they called me up to talk and to give my testimony, and I'm like, why me? I'm just me, I'm just the mom, like and I gave my testimony, and another time they heard about this woman that her husband was on drugs, and he was an alcoholic, and he tried setting her on fire, and they're like, Christy, and I'm like, again? Like, there's a lot of people on this team that you guys and so I did my testimony, and I have never hugged a girl so, like, she hugged and held on to me so tight because she thought she was alone. She didn't realize, like Dave was saying, that she thought that we were so normal and so perfect. And when I gave my testimony that my husband had been on drugs for so many years, and he was an alcoholic and all the stuff that he did, and that I stood by him, and that he's clean and sober, and she just had that look in her eyes that she wanted to stay with her husband, and like, it was like that hug, I'll never forget it. It was just amazing how she hugged me. And then when, like Carlos said, like he was there for the music, I was there for the kids. I love kids, I miss mine, and I was there for VBS. We do a VBS there, and I didn't wear my wedding rings. Instead, I wore a ring that my husband gave me, and I got so attached to this little girl. She like clung to me, and I can't say her name was long, and just you think like a box of crayons. Like we couldn't even give him a box of crayons. I felt so bad. Like we could only give him like a red and a green. You know, like there was just 2 little crayons that they had. They loved and they just like cherished it. When someone wanted to use it, they were like, no, you know, my little girl had a box of crayons. I don't know where she got it, but she would not let her friends use it. And I was like, you need to let your friends use it. And she's like, no. And I was like, let your friends use it. You'll get them back, I promise. And she's like, and like, she didn't speak much English, and but language, my husband's family speaks Spanish, and I don't, so I do a lot of sign language. I knew that she knew what I was talking about, and so I got her back here, and what felt so special to me is their jewelry and the stuff that they have means so much to them. She put her earrings on me, and I was like, oh no, they're gonna get infected. But I don't care. She put her earrings on me, and I just lost it. And it was like, oh my gosh, this little girl that has nothing and that cares about her box of crayons gave me her earrings. Oh, I just lost it, and I was like, I need to give her something. I didn't know, I didn't have anything, and I looked at my ring, I was like, oh, it's gonna kill me. And I was like, no, because he doesn't get mad, he'll just buy me call you sister. And I was like, no. And I'm like, you have it. And so I gave it to her. And then the next time we saw her again, she didn't have it. And I was like, where's your ring? Like, where's your ring at? And she's like, oh. And then she had said that she gave it to her friend because she was afraid it was going to fall off. And I was like, I had a necklace on, and I took off my necklace, and I said, go get your ring. And I put my ring on her necklace, and I gave it to her. And she was like, no, sister, no. And I was like, yeah, you're fine. And I saw her again, and she had it on, and it just, her smile was like, it just reminded me of my daughter, because, I mean, even though she was a little bit older than my daughter at the time, but I just thought of her. And it just broke my heart that I loved her. I wanted to take her home. You know, and I saw her again, and she had a necklace on, and she would run up to me and hug me, and then she asked if I was coming back next year. It was hard. It was hard to leave her. You know, even though I wanted to come back to my family, it was hard to leave her. And then when I came home, you know, it's not easy when you come home. When I came home from the airport, my youngest son, he didn't even want to see me. He was 2, and I remember seeing him at the airport, and he didn't even want to come to me. I felt so bad. I felt like a bad mom that I had left him. And I wanted to just say, give him time, and probably like an hour after he, we went to eat, I probably gave him ice cream. And he came around and he hugged me, and he's 2, I mean. But now, I think about going again, and Alexia, my oldest, you know, she took the pennies, and she's so excited to raise money for them, and she's always talking about Indian people, and she's like, Indian people, and we live in an apartment, and there's Indians there, she's like, Indian people, Indian people. And I'm just so excited that my kids are so excited about me being excited, you know, and I tried telling my husband because I survived, or whatever, what we went through, but I just like, you know how much you would be like up there, you know, like that would be awesome, but he'll come around.
Thanks, Christy. Give her a hand. I don't like to talk. That's what India does. It creates a passion in you. I guarantee you, every one of us that's here that's been to India can get up here and talk an hour. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Christy doesn't like to talk. I had to get up here and get the hook. I mean, yeah, that's what India does. It creates a passion that you just want to spread to everybody. And my next friend I want to invite up, Jim, you've often said, I don't want to go to India because I'm afraid of what I'll see and what I'll want to do once I see it. Well, this isn't going to help your cause, this next person. All right, I'm going to bring up Lindsay. Lindsay, can you come up? Lindsay, you guys give her a hand. Many of you, several months ago, we had Bart come, her husband, come and talk to us a little bit about their marriage and what they went through and how they reconciled. And Lindsay has been on 2 trips to India, and she's done some extraordinary things with Bart and the family since they've been back. Just keep in mind, she already had a family of 4, which is more than most of us could handle. And I'll just leave it at that, all right?
Before we went to India the second time, Bart and I really asked God to break our heart for what breaks his. And he was faithful to do that. We saw pictures of the Vacation Bible School, and there's like 800 orphans, right? And you know, by the end of the first day, they're calling you mom and dad and pulling on your clothes, and they just want to hug you and touch you, and you've got 6 or 7, however many can get on you, hanging on you. And God just wrecked us. For those little ones to look in their eyes and see hopelessness. And you talk about the least of these, a child with no voice, with no adult to speak up for them, that is the least of these. And those are the ones that God has called us to care for. And just being with them and experiencing that and seeing what it looks like. And I mean, these kids are in an amazing orphanage with people that love Jesus. They know God. They know the books of the Bible. They probably have more of the Bible memorized than I do. But they don't have a mother and a father. And everybody needs that. Everybody needs that. And so we got home from that trip and really just made it our life's mission to make a difference. And we can't, there's over 150 million orphans in the world. And obviously I can't bring all of them into my house, but I can. But I can change the life of as many as God will let me. And everybody talks about what it's like when you're there, and you take 2 weeks out of your life and you commit it all to God. So you're giving Him everything. And you are never more alive than when you're there, and it's because you're giving it away. You're pouring yourself out for God. All day, all night long, your focus is totally on what He wants you to do, and you're giving everything you have to other people. And that's experiencing living for the first time. Most of us, we don't live like that here. You go there and you give everything away. And I think I don't want that to be separate than this. I don't want to give everything away for 2 weeks and then come home and live a normal life. That's not good enough. And it shouldn't be for any of us. And we can, the enemy would say, well, look at, you can't make a difference, but every single one of us can. And if we all did, then it would be a huge impact on in the world. And I just would say, what you have to offer, we all have something to give, and maybe it's not money, but it's time, or it's your talents, or whatever. God has given us all something to give away, and He's called us all to give ourselves away. So I would just encourage you, even if you're just thinking a little bit about it. And Jim, you better pack your bags. because it is living. When you go there and see the poverty and you look hopelessness in the eye, and you say, but let me tell you, there is hope, and His name is Jesus. And He loves you, and He gave everything for you. And that's what they get from you going there, is that our hope. Like we can give them hope. But I would say, when you go, don't let it end there. I mean, let that be the beginning. Let that be the beginning of a lifetime of pouring yourself out, because that's living.
Thanks, Lindsay. Hey. Her and Bart are very humble. They came back from India and they adopted 2 daughters. 2 daughters with special circumstances, gorgeous daughters. First daughter they got from Ethiopia, and they had to go through many, years? A year to get that daughter from Ethiopia. And so not only is she from Ethiopia, but she has AIDS, correct? HIV positive. And so because we have medicines here, they're gonna provide that young daughter a life that she probably wouldn't have had in Ethiopia. I don't know. But anyways, that was their first adoption. So then, that wasn't enough for them. That wasn't enough of a reach. They adopted a beautiful newborn baby right here in the United States with Down syndrome.
Wow.
Yeah. So India has changed their heart. They are living God's call. That's how you answer God's. That's what you got. Yeah.